Land College Football Pay-Per-View Package. It's all the teams you want to see and all the ones you want to see beaten.
We have a lot to protect in Mercer County. Our open space, our history of innovation. That's why Freeholder Brian Hughes preserved thousands of acres of open space and created the Historic Preservation Commission.
As county executive, I'll keep working to bring more business here, but in a smart way, so we can protect our open space and hold down property taxes.
Democrat Brian Hughes for county executive. He'll never stop fighting for us.
Well, hurricane season 2003 well into its midsection now, and actually starting to head in the month of October, starting to tail off, but we're still very active. In fact, there are 3 storms, 3 either hurricanes or tropical storms out there, 2 in the Atlantic, 1 in the Eastern Pacific to tell you about. We'll start off with the big picture here in the Atlantic, and 2 things to let you know about. One is simply a marine issue, meaning ships, and that is Hurricane Kate, right smack dab in the middle of the Atlantic. The other one, though, has potential implications because it's in a much more confined area of water. That is here on the edge of your map, Tropical Storm Larry. And let's go to that one first. As of the 10 p.m. advisory from the National Hurricane Center, placing the center of Tropical Storm Larry at about 160 miles east-northeast of Veracruz, Mexico. Top winds of 60 miles an hour, highest flight level winds that have been seen by the Hurricane Hunter aircraft of the 53rd Weather Recon Squadron, Air Force Reserve, my squadron, about 66 knots. And if you've ever wondered, knots, what are knots? Nautical miles per hour. Nautical miles actually a little longer than the miles that we tend to drive in cars, but if you ever need to convert between knots and miles per hour, here's the rule. Add a 15% tip. So 66 knots, roughly about 76 miles an hour at 1,500 feet. But at the surface, a little less. Hurricane Center believes 60 miles an hour, and it's only moving to the southwest at about 2 miles an hour. So very, very slow moving. Estimated pressure at the center, 993 millibars. Now, because it's close enough to the coast, the Mexican government has posted up some watches and warnings. There are tropical storm, or rather, hurricane watches from Veracruz around to Campeche. And then in the same area, there are tropical storm warnings because there is just that slight southwestward drift here of Tropical Storm Larry. And the current forecast does call for it to intensify a little bit over the next couple of days, but as far as movement, very, very slow to move. It's going to, for all intents and purposes, just sit here in the Bay of Campeche for at least a while longer, but we'll certainly be monitoring this very, very carefully. Okay, we mentioned that we have a hurricane in the central Atlantic. That we do. That's Hurricane Kate right here, and this thing has been looking better and better in terms of it's getting healthier all day. Top winds now, as of the 11 p.m. advisory, 90 miles an hour. It's centered about 1,100 miles east-southeast of Bermuda, tracking off to the west-southwest at 12 miles an hour. Big subtropical ridge just to the north, and so it's cruising along the southern periphery of that ridge. And here's a look at it. And again, it looks pretty impressive. The eye clearly evident, the deep convection wrapping entirely around the eye. However, no threat to land. The current forecast track continues it off to the west-southwest, and then eventually a trough of low pressure coming off the U.S. coast will pick it up, sling it back to the northeast, east of Bermuda, under the current forecast thinking. All right, that's what's happening in the Atlantic. Now I wanted to jump over to the Eastern Pacific, because here, too, we have a tropical storm. That is Tropical Storm Nora. As of the 8 p.m. advisory Pacific time, centered 550 miles south of Cabo San Lucas, top winds of 60 miles an hour, and it is sitting in place, stationary, although the forecast track does take it back off to the northwest over the next couple of days. It has an estimated central pressure of 997 millibars. Let's come back to the U.S. The big story here, cold in the east. Look at this, 20s up and down the Appalachians, frost and freeze warnings all over the place. We'll tell you more about it next.
Wouldn't it be convenient if getting your weather was this easy? Now it is.
This one is not, we're not worried about this at all, so you don't have to be worried about it. Caribbean, quiet. Then we have in the Bay of Campeche, Tropical Storm Larry, where winds are at 60 miles per hour. This is the 4 a.m. Central Time advisory. Stationary, it hasn't moved much at all. You see the convection has died down overnight, starting to pick up a little bit here. Now the center is like somewhere right in here. You kind of see a spin right in there. Hurricane hunters will be out there this morning investigating and will give us a more accurate pressure reading, where right now it's estimated at 993 millibars. The center is 160 miles east-northeast of Veracruz, Mexico, where we have hurricane watches up. If this does start to intensify, and it may intensify a little bit, get close to hurricane strength anyway, and it's all the way over to Campeche, Mexico. So you have interest here, traveling this direction, small craft. This is something you probably want to avoid. And we do have tropical storm warnings up from Veracruz to Campeche, Mexico. We don't think it'll affect the lower 48 except for some big surf, maybe some beach erosion across Texas, but some strong westerly winds to the north will keep this at bay. Now, Hurricane Kate, not affecting anybody but shipping lanes maybe. Winds are at 105 miles per hour. It is forecast to become a major hurricane, moving west at 12 miles per hour. And a huge eye on this. And again, it is forecast to intensify as it moves into warmer waters and less sheared environment. And but again, it's not going to impact Bermuda at all. We don't have to worry about that. So that's it for the Atlantic Basin. Let's get you in the Pacific, where Tropical Storm Nora is also forecast to intensify in the next 24 hours. Winds are at 65 miles per hour. It is stationary, but will start to move towards the west-northwest and become a hurricane in the next 24 hours. Nick?
Tropical weather from Hurricane Isabel to typhoons left their marks on the airline industry. The Bloomberg Money Barometer looks at a losing situation for many carriers.
Good morning. Airline traffic slowed in Europe and Asia because of bad weather. The Association of European Airlines said international passenger traffic in Europe rose 1.4% in the week ended September 21st. That's less than the 4.4% increase in the previous week. Meanwhile, Asian traffic in the week ended September 21st fell 1.5%. That's more than the previous week's decline of 0.7%. Hurricane Isabel in the U.S. and typhoons in Asia disrupted flights. Virgin Atlantic, British Midland, and British Airways canceled transatlantic flights on September 18th and 19th amid safety concerns caused by Hurricane Isabel. And Typhoon Miami, South Korea's strongest storm in a century, reached the country on September 12th, while Typhoon Choiwon affected Japan on September 19th through the 22nd. European airlines are estimated to lose between $1 and $2.4 billion this year. The spread of SARS, the Iraq War, and a slowing economy discourage people from flying. For the Weather Channel, Linda Bell with the Bloomberg Money Barometer.
If you're hitting the road, you won't want to miss our travel forecast.
Kelly Cass has the latest when First Outlook continues.
This program was brought to you by Cadillac. Bold vehicles defying convention.
To buy you dinner.
Nice try. I know about the free rebate.
Okay.
The Swanson Dinner Rebate lets you try delicious fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and sweet corn for free.
So 8-ish?
No-ish.
Hi, how you doing?
Your boss expects a report in 1 hour, but it's a gorgeous 74 degrees outside. So you handle it like a true professional. With a laptop powered by Centrino, Intel's mobile technology, you can work wirelessly in thousands of places, even Bryant Park, under your favorite tree. Intel Centrino mobile technology.
You know, every so often, a package like this is delivered right to my door. I like to think of it as my lifeline. You know, I have diabetes. These are my testing supplies. I check my blood sugar, and I check it often. Liberty Medical makes sure I have everything I need when I need it. Now, you may not know this, but if you're on Medicare, the cost of your diabetes testing supplies may be covered, whether you use insulin.
Expect fair skies Sunday through Tuesday with temperatures in the 60s on Sunday.
Heavy rains from Tropical Storm Larry have sparked heavy flooding in parts of Mexico. So far, as many as 12,000 people have been moved to government shelters, and 46 municipalities remain on alert as overflowing rivers threaten houses, schools, and businesses. This recent flooding comes in the middle of an already traditionally heavy rainy season, which could last through the end of October. Hello and welcome to Weather Center. I'm Janetta Jones.
And I'm Rich Johnson. It's 15 minutes past the hour. It's time for your tropical update. We're going to begin with the big look out there. We'll have, of course, more on Larry, too. We have Hurricane Kate and Tropical Storm Larry in the Atlantic Basin. I think you can see the hurricane. You can see Kate very easily. A fairly small storm, but very powerful. It's strengthening. And Larry, well, Larry's down toward the Bay of Campeche, extreme southwest Gulf of Mexico. Air Force Reconnaissance Aircraft continues to investigate. We'll have more on this a little bit later today, but this morning they didn't find anything that was drastically different than what we saw earlier. Maybe the pressure's gone up just a touch. That's about it. Present time, it's 120 miles east-northeast of Veracruz, and what we are expecting with Larry is a general southerly drift down toward the coast of Mexico. Also some oil rigs in this area, so there could be the choppy seas, of course. We have tropical storm warnings out from Veracruz eastward all the way back over to Campeche, and there's also the hurricane watches up for that exact same area for the possibility of any slight strengthening. Certainly we're getting a burst here. You see a lot of deep reds here now. That's telling us that those thunderstorm tops are really developing again. So you would expect the winds to start to kick up again and maybe some strengthening. But at the present time, it's not terribly organized, but we'll just have to watch this latest development. Infrared now to the visible satellite picture. You can see the circulation center in this area here. Again, it's not tremendously organized. There's a little bit of wind shear from the west. We still think it could develop some, despite that. Over toward the eastern Caribbean Sea, the windward's looking good today. Just a few showers, most of those northeast of Barbados. Puerto Rico to Virgin Islands looking fine. And west of the or east of the islands, again, still a little flare-up of showers and storms. Poses no threat to the islands. Well, here's Hurricane Kate. Kate making its way all over the Atlantic, now curving southwest to the west. Yesterday was southwest. Now we expect more of a westerly direction, and we expect that Kate eventually will go around that subtropical ridge, that Azores Bermuda High, then maybe curve up toward Canada. But at this point, we think it may stay east of Canada. Top sustained winds at 110. Of course, Category 3, which represents major hurricane, is 111. So if there's any strengthening at all, this would be a major hurricane. And by the look of the latest satellite photograph, I would say there's a good chance of that happening by later today. Visible satellite picture certainly looks like strengthening, so we'll probably find the Hurricane Center upgrading this later today to a Cat 3. Tropical Storm Nora over toward the Pacific side. Top sustained winds at 65. Now Tropical Depression 15E off to the southeast of Nora. Well, you can see both of these features right here. There's the tropical storm expected to strengthen. Both are a little ways away from Mexico, and what we're expecting, again, there's Nora, and coming into the picture, there's 15E. Both of these hopefully will make their way farther to the west. So that's why it's looking at tropics, pretty busy. Now here's Janetta with a look at the states.
Yeah, we have the chance for some wet weather moving across the Great Lakes, and that's going to lead to some very nasty driving conditions for you in Detroit and Chicago and Indianapolis. Elsewhere, chance for showers and thunder showers across the southwest, and we're going to find some inclement weather in Oklahoma as well as Arkansas, too, in association with an upper-level disturbance. All of those areas could see strong thunderstorms, with the exception of the Great Lakes. Probably not here, but you will have some very breezy conditions, not to mention some wet weather. In the southwest, scattered showers in the offing right now, could turn a little bit nastier by this afternoon, and the rain is sweeping across Chicago and into Indianapolis.
All right, thanks, Janetta. Now here's Jim Cantori with a preview of tonight's storm stories.
Every weeknight at 8, the Weather Channel is the place to turn to hear real life.
Expect fair skies Sunday through Tuesday with temperatures in the 60s on Sunday.
It is now 50 minutes past the hour time for Storm Watch, and we start off with the tropical season with a tropical update, and this is where we are in terms of the tropical season. We're right here in the orange, kind of heading on towards the middle of October, and we're past the peak of hurricane season, although it can still be quite active, and in fact tonight it is quite active. And we take a look at the history of the last 115 years. We've seen 88 storms, so that's almost a storm a year in the first 10 days of October. A lot of it has occurred in the Caribbean and also the Gulf of Mexico and also the Western Atlantic. But we'll take a look at the entire Atlantic. Looking at that climatology map, we typically don't see that many storms coming off of the west coast of Africa anymore. But again, we'll keep watching. Nothing there right now. Two features we're watching here. This is a hurricane. This is a major hurricane. And we also have a tropical storm in the Gulf of Mexico. So we have two areas in a very active Atlantic. We also have two areas in the Pacific we're going to get to. But first, let's zoom into our major hurricane. This is Hurricane Kate. It's 905 miles east-southeast of Bermuda. Winds west, or moving west to 12 miles per hour. Winds, again, major hurricane, Category 3 status, 115 mile per hour sustained winds. The forecast for the storm is to eventually turn back towards the north and away from Bermuda. Again, we're days away from Bermuda, and if you zoom into this storm, it's actually a quite beautiful looking storm just in terms of its outflow and well-defined eye here, indicative of a very strong hurricane, a major hurricane. The best thing about how good this hurricane is, it's moving northward and it's going to stay away from land. You can almost see a little front coming this way. That's going to help shear this and kind of tear this storm apart as it pushes it pretty quickly on towards the north, and then boom, a distant memory. So Bermuda, the good news is maybe some surf higher than usual, but this hurricane, Hurricane Kate, will not be directly affecting you at all. It's going to miss by several hundreds of miles. Back across the Caribbean, we're going to talk about our tropical storm, but elsewhere, not a bad day. Nothing major across the greater Antilles. Little wave coming across the southwestern portions of the Caribbean, but as we zoom in to the Gulf of Mexico, this is our tropical storm Larry, 110 miles east-northeast of Veracruz, Mexico. Not moving a whole lot. Winds still strong. Tropical storm, 60 mile per hour winds. The last several days kind of meandered here and slowly kind of meandered on towards the southwest. As we take a look at the satellite again, the good news is if you're vacationing to Cancun and Cozumel, yeah, we saw some thunderstorms today, but you can see thunderstorms any day in October. It doesn't mean you have any impact from Tropical Storm Larry. You're not seeing any direct impacts at all. Even the Yucatan is protecting you from even the higher than average surf, but it is not protecting parts of coastal Texas, South Padre. Yeah, we're seeing stronger surf, and that could be causing some beach erosion as well. Let's zoom in again. We can see a lot of the activity is blowing on towards the Mexican coast. That means flooding. In fact, we have some video to show you, because this is the major impact with this storm, is the heavy flooding. The Tropical Storm Larry, yeah, sparked heavy flooding in parts of Mexico. So far, as many as 12,000 people have been moved to the government shelters, and 46 municipalities remain on alert as overflowing rivers threaten houses, schools, and businesses. This recent flooding comes in the middle of an already traditional heavy rain season, which could last throughout the end of October. We do have tropical storm warnings up from Veracruz to Campeche, and also hurricane watches. Just in case this does strengthen to a hurricane, we'd have watches issued as well. Now, as we move across Mexico, we have two other bodies that we're watching out here, and both of these are tropical storms. The stronger of the two, Tropical Storm Nora, forecast to perhaps become a minimal hurricane pretty soon. Sustained winds around 70 miles per hour, moving on towards the northwest at 7 miles per hour. And also just towards the southeast of Tropical Storm Nora, we have a second tropical storm, and this is Tropical Storm Olaf. Sustained winds, minimal tropical storm, about 45 miles per hour, moving on towards the northwest at 7. Both storms are forecasted to continue to move on towards the northwest. Have to watch out in the Baja with Nora, but eventually slightly higher surf in Southern California. Stay tuned. More
great deal on Comcast high-speed internet? Take a look. Right now, service is just $19.99 a month for 3 months with a free self-installation kit. You'll blaze through the web with lightning fast